Hey, what is up? My name is Achilles, and I'm here today starting a YouTube channel and talking about crazy stuff, spiritual things, metaphysical things, and just talking about reality and this human experience. That's basically what my channel is going to be focused on. But anyways, today's my first video, and last night I was laying in bed, going to bed, and I kept on having this thought, this recurring thought, perception. How does perception create our reality? How do we choose our reality through perception is more accurate. And I was like, maybe I'll just make a video on it and start explaining some things for maybe there's some people out there who don't really understand or probably don't even hold this perspective at all. Maybe they're open to it, but they're just not, I don't know, getting the information. And we live in an information age, so time to start creating some information. And I have a lot of information to share. At least I feel like it would help you maybe if you are a little bit confused. And I know there's a lot of people doing videos and stuff, but I don't really care. I want to hold my perspective because everybody else has different perspectives, and I want to show and explain the way I see this, how perception creates a reality. So I'm going to start out first by explaining what perception is. What is perception? Well, we have what we perceive physically through our senses, seeing, touching, tasting, smelling, hearing, right? And then we have perspectives, like that we take, how we think about a certain situation. And the example that I would use is like, you have two different people thinking about the same things. Religion, right? God. Well, the perspective of an atheist is there is no God. Perspective of a Christian is there is a God, right? It's just a simple example. I'm just using it as an example. So those are two different perspectives. That's how we think about things. An atheist probably thinks more in like science, logical terms. A Christian is more like based on faith and non-physical, just belief, pure faith, right? Which is kind of opposite. Those are two opposite perspectives. And so we take these two definitions of perspective, our physical perceptions and our perspectives of like how we choose our perspective. Like we get to choose our perspective. Sometimes we don't get to choose what we perceive, but also what we are perceiving is actually a choice of what our perspective is, because when we take certain perspectives, then we start to see more of that. So what this comes back to is focus. So like, where are you putting your focus? If you're focusing on one thing, those things tend to usually grow, and you see more of that because you're focusing on it. Your brain is looking out for it, right? So this comes to the, have you ever seen that black and white photo? I'll try to put one up, and it's got the faces on the outside that are in black, and on the inside it makes this vase. And it's like you can only see one thing at a time. You shift your focus and you see the faces, and then you shift your focus and you only see the vase on the inside in white. Then you shift your focus again, and then you see the faces, right? This is perspective, because we're both looking at the same picture, but we're seeing two different things. So this is how perspectives and perception, what we physically perceive, tie together, is focus. So what we focus on is what we see, obviously. What we focus on is what we see. Even though there might be some other things there available, we're just holding a certain perspective, and that's what we're focusing on. So that tends to be what we see, and you could get really complicated and mess this whole thing up. But this is my perspective. This is the way that I think. So, like I said, it just popped into my head last night. And so when we're focusing on those things, like say if you get up and you just start having a bad day, you get out of bed and you trip and fall, and you're like, damn it, today's going to be a bad day. This already proves that it's going to be a bad day. So then your perspective is, oh, today's a bad day. Even though there is another perspective of like, hey, it could be a good day. But you're just not open to that perspective because you're holding this one thing is what you're focusing on. And so that tends to be, then you create more of it because you're looking out for it. So if your brain is looking out for it because of what you're focusing on, then it starts to create more of that because it's what you're focused on. It's not that, everything is already there and available. Like the good day is there and available. You can have a good day. Or you can focus on the bad things, be like, and make your day bad. And that's the way you define it. And so a lot of this has to do with like our language and the way we talk about things, because language in itself is a perspective, because certain languages actually only allow you to believe so much because you can only understand so much or define so much. And that's why like we live in the world we do live in. And it's why we perceive things the way we do, is because we talk with this language, this English language, that is only limited to so much. If we had more definitions for greater things, I mean, obviously you could add to the English language. But anyway, sorry if I rambled a little bit. I'm looking at my notes and kind of going along here. But it's very simple. It's not really too far out, this thing. And the easiest way to explain it is that black and white photo. And that's one way of explaining it. So, but also there, like I said, everything is available right now. There's only the now moment, first of all. Time and space really is an illusion. But the thing is, like, us being human beings, we only experience reality in a certain way with only so much time in our lives. And we live in a certain space. We occupy this space. This is my room, right? So we can go from point A to B, but it takes so much time to get there. And this is one way of perceiving reality, through a physical experience. Us being physical, the world being physical, we are on this dimensional level, this dimensional perspective. You could say that it's an octave of dimensions that are, defined and operated by physical things. And then, say you go up another octave or another dimension, maybe that everything is not physical, and then we can see more things, and we're not governed by time or space. So I know that's kind of far out, but that's another thing that I think about a lot, And so if everything exists already, if it's already all available, it's just about where our focus is. We're splitting up reality into these different perspectives. That's why oneness is a very strong perspective, because it doesn't really exclude anything. We just think that everything is all one, and we're all one. We're not like splitting it up into these different perspectives. So when we focus on one thing and only one thing, we tend to have a limited experience. And so it's like, another thing about us being humans is that our naked eye can only see like so much of the visible spectrum. There's so many other rays out there that we cannot see with our eyes because we only experience a little bit of it when people could say, oh, well, if you can't see it, it doesn't exist. Well, that's not true, because we have microwaves, we have UV rays, we have all those things, right? What if we could see that with our physical eyes? Well, probably it would look very different. Everything would look very different. So if reality is split through perspectives like that black and white photo, you can only see one thing at the same time, then, that is our way of experiencing reality as humans. And so if we only have a limited time in our life to live it out and be what we want to be and do what we want to do, then we have to have different perspectives of, like, maybe I perceive that I am a insecure person and I get made fun of all the time, right? And then I go out in public and I'm at a bar and hanging out with some of my friends, and then I hear somebody say something and they're talking about, and they say, like, oh, that person's weird, and automatically I think they're talking about me. Why? Because I already have the perspective that I'm insecure and that people should make fun of me, right? So then I start thinking that that's what they're talking about. They're talking about me. Oh no. And then I walk around the bar and I hear more people say things. And they could be talking about anything. They could be talking about anybody. But I still, in my mind, it's like, oh no, they're making fun of me. And so that's a perspective. That's how we create. That's how we choose what we're experiencing. Because everything's already here right now. Right now, it's all accessible, just like the bad day. Like, you have a bad day, you can have a good day. It's just that you're creating it that way. So now you can start to see how perception chooses our reality, how we choose our reality through our perception, our perspective that we take. And so I was going to say some things about, like, micro, macro. Like, so, a day, today is today. And then you have your whole life, right? There's, the minute and the hour. So one's micro and one's macro. They all correspond to each other. It's all the same. And, in reality, if you look at a mandlebrot, I could probably find one or just send you a link to one or whatever. But it's like, it repeats itself after so many times. There's another thing, I just really like this idea. It's a cool idea. It's a cool way of thinking about reality. It's like, if you get down to beyond the atomic level, go into the quantum level, and it's like, maybe, you've probably heard this one too, is like, there's small little tiny universes in those electrons, all like happening and existing and then dying within a couple of, whatever the time frame that would be. And so then you're like, oh my God, there's millions and trillions and bazillions of universes in me dying and being reborn right now within inside my body and all around me, right? That could be like a very micro. So if you go zoom in down to the micro, it just becomes the macro. You see what I'm saying? And so if you zoom out, like, say our planet revolves around the sun, the solar system itself revolves around the galaxy, and who knows what's after that. And you go out, it's the same thing. You zoom out far enough, you're just going to get back to the same place. So, I mean, this is a perspective that is kind of mind-boggling for a lot of people, but, if you think about it, it's when you look at a Mandelbrot and sacred geometry and stuff, you start to find out that really it's kind of true. It is true, and you see it everywhere. It's just the paradoxical nature that we live in. And so us being human in a physical reality in this one dimension is exactly how we are perceiving reality. So that is a macro to our micro of how we choose what to do with our lives on a daily basis, or what we do with our lives, period. And so, that's why I explain that, is because that is the micro. That is the macro to our micro, which our micro is just our life. And in dimensions, you have more than one life, I assume. You know, you can think about it however you want, but pretty much, anyways, everything's accessible right now. You're perceiving it, and you're choosing what you're perceiving because that's where you're putting your focus. Just want to recap that, and I'm not going to talk about the separation illusion because then I can get really far into it, and this is already 15 minutes, but I hope that helps you out a little bit and kind of can explain things about perception and how we can shift our focus and our perspective to start seeing other things in our life, if that's how you want to, if you would like to change, or if you maybe you don't want to change, you know, or maybe you just want to cultivate some other type of experience. And you know, I'm going through a lot of things in my life too, and I just want you to know that I'm starting this YouTube channel to explain and document how I'm going to go from A to B through my beliefs and this whole law of attraction and manifestation and just the spiritual things that I've been experiencing. You know, went through a spiritual awakening a long time ago, and or well, I guess you could say about 5 years ago now. Yeah, a long time ago. It's a long time for me, but and I never really shared my knowledge with anybody. So I'm gonna see. You know, right now I'm living at my parents' in this room. So this is my room, and I just want to see what's gonna happen over the next 10 years. If I can document all this on YouTube and just show that I went from living at my parents' house to wherever I'm gonna be, and just show the shift in and how it actually, how you can actually go from point A to B with an example of me being that example. So thank you very much, and I'm gonna continue maybe possibly doing this every other day or so. I'm not really gonna do daily videos. Sorry, this one was a little bit long, but you know, we can all invest time, and I just wanted to stop consuming a lot and more consciously creating some content for other people to think about and go over. So if you like it, like it. If you want to subscribe, subscribe. If you want to hear more shit like this, great. I'll be here probably, and you can see where I've gone in my life, where I've came from, and where I'm going to go, and where I am going. So I'm going to share my story with the world is exactly what I'm doing. So that's what I think YouTube is for. And we can use things in a very powerful way depending on our perspective. And my perspective is, well, we can use YouTube for greater things, like sharing our stories and how we want to impact other people's lives and change each other's lives and help each other get to a better state of being. So thank you very much. Like, subscribe, whatever. Have fun. Have a nice day. And don't forget, perception is what makes you choose your reality. All right. Goodbye.